everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I decided that I wanted to try doing my first recommendations video. I have been wanting to do these for a while now, but I always feel like I haven't read enough. But as I'm reading more, I realize that there are more books that I can put in the categories. So for my first ever recommendations video, I figured I would just go ahead and start with mangas. I have a few here to show you guys. I have 5 total series, I guess, to talk about with you guys. The first manga series that I wanted to talk about today is Food Wars by Yudo Sakuda. So this series follows Soma Yukihira. Once this series opens up, Soma is working with his dad in their small family restaurant, and he declares to his father that he is determined to surpass his father's cooking skills. So one day his father randomly closes down their restaurant so he can go travel around doing business as a chef, and he decides to enroll Soma in this elite culinary school. And the culinary school only has a graduation rate of 10%, so that is pretty low. Just imagine only 10% of the students that go to the school actually graduate, which is insane. This is actually a shonen manga, which basically means it is actually geared towards a younger male audience, which reading this I can definitely understand, because some parts, especially when there are people tasting the food, it kind of can get a little graphic at times, which I think it's kind of hilarious. It doesn't bother me, but I can definitely see it bothering some people. So go into this aware of that. I actually got this recommendation from another booktuber, Ashley over Epicish Realms, and when she was first talking about this, basically she was saying when people taste the food, it's almost like an orgasmic experience, which I could definitely understand. I don't want to say that there's downright nudity in this, but it's almost to the point of being, it's almost to the point of going that far. But anyway, this series, when I first heard about this, I definitely was interested, but in no way was I expecting to be this invested in the series. I am actually currently all caught up on all the physical editions that are currently out in English. This is a series that I have become really invested in, and I think this is an amazing series, especially if you're new to manga and if you're trying to get into it, especially if you love cooking, because I feel like that obviously is a main focus of the series. And we get to not only see Soma cook, but there are so many different people that we get to follow and experience their cooking. I've never really had any authentic Japanese cuisine or anything like that, and it just makes me want to try, because almost everything that they talk about seems like it would be absolutely amazing, because this is just amazing. Besides the cooking, there's a lot of humor in this, but there's also definitely some serious moments, and I think this is just all around a really good series, and this series is amazing, and I just highly recommend this. The next series that I wanted to talk about is Skip Beat by Yoshiki Nakamura. In this series, Kyoko Mogami follows her true love Sho to Tokyo to support him in his pursuit of becoming a famous musician. But now that he's famous enough, Sho actually casts Kyoko aside and leaves her heartbroken, and she decides to enter into the showbiz world in order to get her revenge and make him regret leaving her behind. So if you guys notice, it's kind of a struggle. I can say Kyoko in my head, but for some reason whenever I say her name out loud, I always say Kyoki, and I might be saying it wrong in my head. That's probably why, but her name is Kyoko because it's an O at the end, not an I. So sorry for that struggle. But if you guys have actually watched my wrap up as well as my July wrap up, I have mentioned this series in both of those, because I actually started reading these in July. Okay, I don't want to say I started reading these. I started rereading these in July. I was introduced to this series when I started reading manga online, and before I really get into that, this is actually a shoujo manga, which basically means this is geared towards younger female audiences, and usually with shoujo mangas there's a focus on romance, so that is kind of a big part of this. And for other terms that might be familiar to you, basically it's a YA contemporary romance. This series is one of my favorite manga series ever. I think this is one of the first manga series that I have ever read, if not the first one that I ever read. And this one has just stuck with me for years. This series is just, I don't even know how to explain it. This is a series that is pretty long and is still going, and I think like each volume has like 6 chapters in it, so you could just imagine there's quite a bit of story and a lot of story arcs and a lot of character growth, and it's just a lot that goes on in the series. And this, I feel like, is almost like the definition of a slow burn romance, because this is something that could, I mean, it starts with the main character being in love with one of the characters in this book, but as you guys could tell from the description, that love from the main character quickly goes downhill, and in turn it shapes her personality, and that part of her is a big part of the storyline and a big part of why the romance, I guess, is so much of a slow burn, and it's almost agonizing at times, because you like, just something happened. And you guys, I can't go pick this up. If you don't want to pick up physical editions, I would highly suggest going and checking out those websites where you can actually read chapters for free and just get a feel for it. The translations are more accurate when you read them in English, or when you read them in the printout editions, compared to when you read the translated scans online. But yeah, like I said, this is one of my favorites. It's, if not my favorite manga series that I have read so far. The next series that I want to talk about, I am like probably like 90% sure that you guys have already heard of this, because I feel like this series has definitely been going around BookTube a lot more lately, and this is how I found out about it. But that is Death Note by Tsugumi Ohba. So in this series we follow Light Yagami, and he is this really excellent student. I think he's like at the top of his class, but he is completely bored with life. But one day he stumbles upon this notebook that has Death Note on it, and it's actually this notebook that is dropped by this death god who's actually kind of bored with what he does as well, so he kind of drops it to get some excitement back in his life, or whatever life a death god has. I don't know how that works out, but anyway, the Light soon finds out that when you write a human name in this notebook, then they die. So he vows to use this notebook in order to get rid of all the evil in the world. So that's basically what the storyline follows. I actually have the black editions, which is 2 volumes in one, and I do own the entire series, but I only read the first half of it. I read the first 3 volumes of these black editions, so I can't give you a full opinion on the entire story. I will say that I was definitely interested, and it was really entertaining throughout the majority of what I've read. I think one of my favorite parts, which kind of got lost in maybe I think the 3rd volume, was the actual death god, which is right here on this side, and I believe this is a picture of Light Yagami, which is one of the main characters in this book. I thought the death god was really hilarious, even though I probably shouldn't have because of some things that were happening, but I found him really entertaining, and I just thought it was really interesting. And it was just interesting to see the concept of good versus evil, and when does good intentions eventually turn into evil actions. I just thought the entire concept of that was really interesting, and I can't wait to see where this story goes. I definitely think that if you are not into these darker topics, I wouldn't suggest you check this one out, because it definitely delves into some really dark subjects and storylines, especially when Light Yagami basically just starts killing off a bunch of people. So I definitely think that is something to keep in mind. But if you are interested in reading mangas and different types of manga, I would highly suggest you guys check this one out. Next series that I have here is Doubt by Yoshiki Tanagi. I'm pretty sure that's how you say the author's name. But in this story, Rabbit Doubt is actually a mobile game that has become really popular across Japan. In this game, the characters or the players are all rabbits, but they have to figure out who is the wolf in rabbit's clothing before they all basically get killed off. There's a group of teens who are actually, I guess, play this game together a lot, decide to actually meet up offline to get together and have some fun. And randomly they all wake up in this abandoned building and they have barcodes tattooed on them, and they basically realize that they're in a real life version of this game, Rabbit Out. And when they wake up, there is a corpse of one of the girls pinned to the wall. To stay alive and to find a way out of this abandoned building, they have to figure out who the wolf is in this game scenario. So this actually falls under like horror, mystery, thriller type of categories. I think they fit all three pretty well, and these editions that I have are actually the bind up. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they have 2 volumes in one, because between the both of these are actually the entire series. I read these last year, I believe, like maybe towards the end of last year, and I will say that this manga series thoroughly creeped me out. I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. These are the covers, by the way. They're kind of turned to the side, and I think the first one has a color. Okay, well, that one is a color. They do have some color pictures at the beginning, but these are actually the characters without the mask on their faces. This series is just kind of highly disturbing. So this is another series that I would suggest you guys not check out if you aren't in, like, if you really aren't into like really gory stuff like that, and if you get like terrified. It's a really dark series, and there is killing, and like people are getting killed throughout this series. So I would suggest you guys, if you're not interested in that stuff, don't check out this series. But if you don't mind, and if you are like into trying to figure out, like, in mystery type stuff, trying to figure out who the person, like who the killer is or who the wolf is in this game, then I would suggest you guys check this out, because this was a really, really interesting story. The way this was set up, it was genius. This, I felt like it would be a good Halloween read, because just the whole concept of the story. The last series that I wanted to mention is Monster by Naoki Urasawa. So this book follows a surgeon. I believe he is a brain or like a neurosurgeon or something like that, and he is dealing with this major conflict because he is working in this facility where he has people above him trying to tell him, like, you need to do surgery on these people, over these people. And he makes the decision one day to work on one patient instead of another, and it becomes this big thing, but he does ends up saving the patient's life that he decides to work on. And because of this, he doesn't realize at the time, but because of this, he ends up saving this child that is actually a serial killer. This is another one of those series that has 2 editions in one, and I have only read this first edition because these bind up editions are actually kind of expensive, more expensive than I'm used to for manga. I think all the other ones I usually pay like $10 and under, so I haven't picked up any more of these yet, but I definitely want to, because going into this I was not expecting to enjoy this as much as I did, but when I started, I was just immediately sucked into the story, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. This one definitely follows some dark materials, but I feel like it's not as dark as Doubt and Death Note, because we don't see a lot of the actions that are going on, but we definitely hear about a lot of what's going on, and I think we might even see a few scenes. I haven't read a good portion of the story, so I can't say where the story goes, or, you know, how much I will enjoy it from there, but I have heard nothing but good things about this series from people who have read more than just what I have read. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where the series goes. So these are all the series that I have talked about in my first manga recommendations video. If you guys have read any of these and have any opinions on any of these series, definitely let me know down in the comments. If you have any other series that you think I might enjoy, also leave those down in the comments. If you guys would like to see more manga that I have read that I would recommend, but I don't have physical copies to show you guys, let me know, because like I said, I did read a lot of them online. That is all I have for you guys today. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye.